Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome out to this session of the Virtual Academy calls. I almost forgot which webinar series we're doing here. My name's Scott Richens. I'm a member of the training team here with Infusionsoft, and I'm excited to be working with you today as we go into the Managing Your Sales Force session here. We're going to be talking all about sales teams, sales pipelines, and how to set that all up within Infusionsoft. Let me flip on my screen here. And let's make sure that all systems are ready to go here. My screen is on. My audio should be coming through loud and clear. So go ahead and give me a shout out. Let me know if you can hear me. Also, let me know where you're coming to us from. I know we got people that join us on these calls from all over the world. Just give me a shout out using the questions section there in GoToWebinar. For those of you that this is your first Infusionsoft Virtual Academy, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. I want to make sure that you know these are live sessions. So on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a dialog box. There's a little control panel for GoToWebinar, and I invite you to interact with me there with the questions portion. So just type in any questions that you have as we go throughout the session. These are interactive. I can't always take your question immediately and speak to it. Sometimes the questions that get asked are just a little more specific than I'm going to take within the general portion of my presentation here. But I always circle back around and we do a drawing a blank here. We do a Q&A portion towards the end, and I do go through and answer all the questions. So once you've typed it in there, know that I've seen it, and I will get to it at some point along the way. Awesome. Looks like we have quite a few people join us here. We got Jonah from the UK, Greg coming in from Atlanta, Mike from Wilsonville. All right. Andrew from Chicago, John from Ireland. All right. Woodland, San Francisco, Durham, North Carolina, Hudson. All right. So we got folks coming in from all over the world. Good to have you here on board again. My name's Scott Richens. If you have questions for me or if you want to connect with me outside of the Virtual Academy here, I invite you to connect with me on Twitter. That's my preferred platform there because when questions get asked there, everybody else can see that conversation as well. If something's a little more specific, go ahead and shoot me an email. Or if it's technical in nature, reach out to our technical support team. They're the ones that are best equipped to answer your questions quickly there. So again, you can connect with me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @ScottRichens. And everything I post about the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy, I do that with the hashtag ISVA. Looks like we got Nick here joining us from Devon, England as well. Okay, fantastic. So let me lay out a couple things here as we're getting started. Number one, this session is being recorded, so I will make it available as soon as possible, typically within 24 hours. Those of you that want to review this after we've gone through it here today, I do record the sessions, and as long as everything goes well with GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, and the conversion takes place properly, I'll have that posted up for you tomorrow or this afternoon. Now, I have a couple things that I want to go through here with you today. Number one is I just want to point forward to what your next steps are going to be. The Virtual Academy is geared for brand new users of Infusionsoft, whether your company just barely bought Infusionsoft or you just joined a company that has already been using Infusionsoft. This is the place for you to be. Now, the next step for you once you're done working with me here at the Virtual Academy is the Mastermind webinars, the Infusionsoft Mastermind webinars. I invite you to sign up for those at help.infusionsoft.com/mastermind. The Virtual Academy, it's just 9 different courses that we cycle through every 3 or 4 weeks. But the Mastermind webinars are user-generated content or user-generated topics. We crowdsource those topics. You'll get a link to where you can go vote for those topics, recommend new topics, things that you want to learn about, and then other people can go in and vote up those topics. And we just talk about the one that is the most requested topic of the week. So that's your more advanced training that I would recommend that you go get signed up for as you are wrapping up the Virtual Academy series. Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about, or what we're going to be talking about here today, specifically what we're focusing on, is going to be it's going to be your sales pipeline, managing your sales force. And the things that we're going to really dive into here today, first is configuring your sales pipeline, how to dive in there and begin configuring that within Infusionsoft. The second thing that we're going to start talking about is pipeline automation. And for many people, that's going to be a new concept. So if you don't know what that means, that's A-okay. I'll describe it and show you how to set it up as we go. And then from there, we're going to jump into your sales rep day-to-day use and how to pull some reports within Infusionsoft. So that's how we're going to progress through things here today. I want to ask a couple questions here as we're getting started. The first one is, how long has your company been with Infusionsoft? I give you some options there. So if you could give me some feedback, I like to get a feel for who we've got on the call here today, so I understand how to target the information today. 0 to 30 days, 30 to 90 days, 3 to 12 months, 1 to 2 years, and 2+ years are your options. So go ahead and just let me know. I'll leave that up for about 10 more seconds. And I'll take that down here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, perfect. That gives me some insight here. Looks like we're fairly well spread, but weighted most there. We've got most people there 3 to 12 months. I want to do one other question here, and that is this. Describe your sales experience. I like to get an idea of what I need to dive into here today as we're getting started, how much of a foundation I need to set. Your options here. What do you mean by sales? Maybe you've never worked with a sales pipeline before. Second one, I'm trying to automate a sales process that I do manually. You have a process in place, but now you're trying to automate that. Or third one, I'm an expert in defining and implementing sales processes. You're probably just here to learn specifically Infusionsoft and how to set things up there. Okay, so I'll leave that one up for about 10 more seconds. We'll shut that one down here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Close poll. I'll share those results here with you. Looks like we're definitely weighted there at the option trying to automate a sales process that I do manually. So many of you have a sense of what your sales process is already. Now we're trying to automate that, followed by equal split there between what do you mean by sales, and I'm an expert in defining and implementing sales processes. So as we're going through and talking through some of these sales processes early on, I want to ask some of you guys to give me an example of what your first 3 to 5 steps are within a sales process. Those that are brand new to sales, not quite sure what that process would look like. I always like to share a couple things there with them from some of the other users that are on the call here. So if you've got, what your first 3 or 5 processes or steps are within your sales process, go ahead and type those there in the questions section if you don't mind me sharing those out as an example of some different industries. Now, as we're getting started here today, we're gonna shift over into the software. And like I said, the first thing I want to start talking about is our sales pipeline. How do we set up our sales pipeline? Now, within Infusionsoft, where we want to go is underneath our CRM portion. Okay, so within CRM, again, let me give you a moment to log in. I invite you all to follow along with me as we go through this one, because I want you to get hands-on experience. I want you to go in, if you know your sales pipeline, your sales process, heck, I want you to set that up as we're going through. So I'll give you a moment to get logged into Infusionsoft as we're logging through this one. And I've got some folks that are giving me some feedback here as well. Andrew said, always make sure to get them to raise their hand with a good lead magnet. So that's the very first thing that Andrew's talking about in his process. Get them to raise their hand, get them to indicate some interest in what it is that you have to offer. And that's the first step of his sales process, then followed by getting their address and contact information to send out whatever it is that they request. His example is free golf ID labels. John here said lead gen, free report, consultation, and then once you've had that consultation, you either close them, you don't close them, they don't show at all, or they cancel. And thank you for the reminder there to close the poll. Perfect. And yes, I will be sharing my screen. So thanks for pointing that one out there, Mike. Let's see, what else do we have in here? Phil, yeah, I'll be sharing my screen here. So you should be able to see my screen at this point. So those of you that are logged in, want to follow along, here's where we're going to be going today. Go to the main navigation bar, Infusionsoft, right here at the top, and we're going to go to CRM Settings. And that's where we're going to focus on setting up our sales pipeline here today. On the left-hand side, you'll see this portion here that says Sales Settings. I like to click on Sales Pipeline first. And that's where we're going to go. So go ahead and follow along with me to there. Sales Pipeline, Sales Settings. Again, what we're walking through here today, I want to set the expectations and make sure. I just realized this is something I usually mention at the very beginning. What I'm going to walk through and show you today is a way to create your sales pipeline, your sales process that's really geared towards sales teams. When you have sales teams that are going to hold the hand of your prospects and walk them through a process step by step by step. What this is not for is for those of you that are looking to put together a process that's completely automated, okay, or that does not include as much hand holding. Okay, I bring that one up early because sometimes I have some folks that say, well, hey, I want to have people be able to click on a link in an email or fill out a web form, and that changes my opportunity stage. That's not what we're covering here today. This is designed to be a process that you can walk people through that is guided by your sales reps, that your sales reps are walking people through it step by step, and they're the ones that are changing the stages that people are in. Now, with that being said, here's where we define those stages. Again, we're under CRM Settings. We click under Sales Pipeline right here. And this is where we can begin to set up our pipeline. Now, if this is your first time coming to this part of the software, then your default stages here will look different than mine. I've already come in and done some customization within this particular part of the software. And so that's why mine will look different than the default ones that you have. I want to talk through a couple different things here. Let me describe to you here how we set up these stages, okay? If you have some default ones there, you do have the option to either delete those and just get rid of them, or you can simply click Edit and begin to overwrite the ones that are already there, customize them to your particular preferences. If it were me and I didn't have any existing sales pipelines going on, if this were my very first time configuring this, I would just overwrite the ones that are already there. Now, what we're doing within here is we're defining those stages. As some of you were already mentioning here, we had John's was really specific here. Lead generation, they had requested the free report, and then they scheduled a consultation, and the outcome of that was either they showed up and they closed the deal. They showed the contact showed up and there was a no close. The contact no showed. They didn't even come to the appointment, or they canceled the appointment. So he's looking at different stages there along his pipeline. That's what he had defined. And there are some that I have set up here. New opportunity, a discovery call and initial consultation scheduled. Create and deliver a proposal. Proposal is sent. You either close them and you win. You close them and you lose. Those are some different examples of sales pipelines. Really, the rule of thumb that I use is every point in your sales process where your conversation shifts, where based on new information or a new interaction, your conversation will begin to shift and take a different tone or a different focus. Okay, so what you're able to do is begin setting up these pipelines here. I clicked Edit right here, and it populated this information up top. I could either click Edit to modify an existing one, or I can just fill in this information and click Add. So let me go through what these different steps are. The first one right here, name. It's asking you for the name of your stage. So I could title it here. So maybe after proposal sent, I want one that says proposal accepted. Then I could change the order right here. Now, where the order comes into play, notice right here, this column says order. The way that these sort is based on the order. They don't sort alphabetically. You don't have to label things within the name specifically. No, you just tell us what order that they want to sort, and things will sort within numerical order. Now, rule of thumb here, you'll notice that I skip by tens here. I go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And the reason behind that is you could go through and you could say 1, 2, 3, 4. But then if you ever need to go in and add an extra one, what ends up happening is when you have to change everything after it. So right here, if I wanted to put proposal sent there or proposal received after this one, well, I've got room. I can just pick 45 as my order. And then when I click add, it inserts it right within that portion. Okay, so that's what we're able to do is begin to specify what those different stages are. This part is actually pretty simple if you know what your stages are. If you don't, then you may need to have a discussion with either some of the sales reps that you work with, or you may need to sit down and begin identifying an intentional process that you can begin to walk people through. And like I said, the easiest thing that I look at is the different points where your conversation shifts, where the objectives of your conversation shift. Okay, so the first one might be scheduling your opening consultation appointment, getting the right key players into the conversation. Next one is once you've had that call, then what are you moving on to? Are you trying to prepare a proposal? Are you preparing a quote? Are you scheduling another in-depth conversation? What is the next goal? What are you trying to do? John says, what if you're a one-man army? John, that's when you get to wear multiple hats and have that conversation with yourself, or maybe find somebody, find a coach, or find a colleague that you can brainstorm with to really identify those processes. I've done that myself, John, in the past when I've been a team of one, essentially working on a project that I had to figure out. I'd call up a colleague and get a conversation with them. They didn't know exactly my process, but as I would have that conversation with them, they would we would be able to go through and they would help synthesize what I was buried deep into the weeds with. So that's a great way to do it. Greg throws out a comment here to you, John. Greg says pipeline is great for one man army to help keep you organized, which is absolutely the case. It's even more important when you're one person trying to handle a whole bunch. So as you're going through setting up your sales pipelines, again, the most important things that you need here are name and order. The next two here are optional. You will probably leave them blank if you're just getting started here. Target number of days defines the target number of days, the maximum target number of days that you will have a contact or an opportunity rather within this particular stage. So maybe you know that you want to get from new opportunity to your discovery call. You want to have that discovery call scheduled within 2 days. Well, then my target number of days on that would be 2 days or 3 days. So it begins to give you a barometer within which to begin to track how long somebody's been within a stage and whether or not they should be moving into a different stage. The last one right there is probability. Probability is more of an advanced feature for those of you that are doing some forecasting and want to forecast your sales based on the probability of close within each one of your stages. So I'm not going to dive deep into that right now, but if some of you need that, I'd be happy to speak to that more in depth in the Q&A portion there towards the end. So feel free to ask on that one. Phil asks, is it calendar days or business days? Phil, I believe it is calendar days. It calculates based on calendar days. So you would need to take that one into account yourself there. That's our sales pipeline. So I want to give you a moment here. I've been chatting through some different things. I want to give you a moment to go ahead and set up your sales pipelines here. Define what those stages are. Again, if you need to add a brand new one, type in a name and order and hit add. If you simply want to edit the ones that are in place already, you can click edit and you can change out the name or the order or otherwise and hit update, and it will then update that information. So go ahead and take a moment to do that. I know there's a couple other questions coming in here that I'll speak to while I'm giving you some time to set that up. Andrew asked, is the probability cumulative or once it reaches 100%? Andrew, basically what you're doing is you're defining the probability that of closing an opportunity that is within that stage. So maybe I know that I close 50% of the people that I send a proposal to. So I would just make my probability there 50%. And then basically what the reports will do is take everything, all the products and such that you have related to opportunities within that stage, and then it gives that a weighted average. It cuts that total value in half. Let's see, what else here? Hey, Ajax just asked a question here, and that brings up a great point. Ajax said he doesn't see contact sales settings underneath contact or company settings. Ajax, do you have opportunities or referral partners here either, or e-commerce? Tell me that one there. There is an edition of Infusionsoft. If you come on our very base edition, it does not include the e-commerce referral partner or opportunities stages here, Ajax. So you may have that. You may have that particular version, our basic version there, Ajax. I invite you to stick here with us during this session if you think this is something that you might need and might be valuable to your business. And then if so, you can go ahead and upgrade there. You'll see an in-depth here on how it all works before making that jump. But I apologize for not mentioning that one there in the very beginning. So that's our sales stages. You begin setting those up and just define each one of the stages. Now, the next thing that we want to do, and if you haven't quite finished that, I invite you to come back around and finish this later, add the additional stages here a little bit later. Here's the next stage that we're going to go through, and that is getting a couple questions here on checklist. Checklist I don't dive into too deep, but it's basically a checklist. I'll demonstrate what it does here in a little bit, Nick, when we get into an opportunity. I'll show you how they work, and then we can circle back around and you can decide there if it's something that you need to know how to set up. So let's go to the opportunity defaults portion right here, left-hand side. Opportunity defaults. The next thing that I recommend that you do is define your active sales stages. Okay. Within the active sales stages, basically, this is where we're defining all the stages that define an opportunity that is still alive. It's not one that has reached a definitive outcome, like you won the opportunity, you lost the opportunity, whatever it might have been. Okay, so what I recommend that you do within here, for those of you on a PC, you're going to hold the control button and you can click multiple items here. For those of you on a Mac, you're hitting the command button. But basically, you can go through and identify all of what's considered your active stages, which means it's an active opportunity that you'll have a sales rep actively working. So you can identify each one of those. I would leave out your stages that say won or lost. Okay. Now, default stage, when you're manually creating an order or an opportunity rather, this will be the default stage that it sets. So you can choose the most common default stage here. You can always modify that on a per opportunity basis. And then your win and loss stages. What you're able to do here under win is define which stage represents you winning or closing a deal. And under loss, you can do the same. These help you out with some reports in the future. And specifically, if you want to start gathering some data on why you won particular opportunities, you can begin to require a win reason, and you can specify reasons right here. That's good for just doing some quick market research in the process. You can do that for both reasons why you win and reasons why you lose opportunities there. And that's all I want to focus on here within the settings portion. There are some other settings that you can work with. They're more advanced though, and so I'm not going to cover those here in this particular session today. I want to focus on the 20% that's going to get you the 80% of the results that you need. So let's hit save down here at the bottom once you're done with that particular portion. And before we jump into setting up our pipeline automation, I want to show you quickly the end from the beginning. So we just set up our sales pipeline. Okay. We set up all of our different stages that we have. I want to show you real briefly. We'll circle back around and go a little bit more in detail, but I want to show you real briefly now what that allows your sales reps to do. I'm going to go here to opportunities, view opportunities, and that's going to pull up the active opportunities that I have. Now, these opportunities are representing deals that I have in the works with a prospect or a customer if this is a repeat sale. And as a sales rep, now I can have a list of the active opportunities that I'm working, and I can come through here and begin to just work my list. This is called our interactive list view. I'm able to just work through this list. Here's what's helpful with this. What's even better is I can begin to filter things, edit my criteria. I can filter things based on the opportunity stage. So I want to see everything that's a brand new opportunity, everything I've got to be taking action on because this is a brand new lead. I can click OK, and it filters down my list. I can click through to this particular opportunity, and I can view this opportunity. I can take action on this thing. And heck, let's say I schedule that discovery call. I'm successful on my first voice-to-voice contact here. I get my discovery call made. All I have to do now is change my sales stage and hit save. And I'm all done. That person has now been moved into the next stage. And when I go back to my search for showing everybody in my new opportunity, this one's no longer there. So now I'm able to begin managing my pipeline. Nick, you asked about checklists. Where checklists come in is what you're able to do is specify steps within a sales pipeline. Maybe there are certain things that you need to make sure that your sales reps remember to do that are kind of like sub-items within an opportunity stage. So, for example, maybe I need to receive some documents here prior to this call or receive copies of identification. Those were just some examples that I had here. Great. I can define these checkboxes here to be either required or not required. Required ones require me to change it or check those off before I can move somebody out of that stage into another stage. So it's kind of like forced reminders, basically, forced acknowledgement on that, Nick, so that your sales reps have to check these before they can now move on to the next sales step. So it's almost it's keeping people honest to a degree and making sure that they don't forget something. It's kind of putting a stumbling block in front of them if it's something that is typically an oversight, which people aren't seeing. Where's that created, Andrew? That's in the sales pipeline portion. So I'll circle back around to that a little bit later on. We're going to start talking about pipeline automation here in a moment, and the check boxes here, these checklists do not tie into the pipeline automation at all, which is oftentimes why people don't choose to use them. So I don't focus on them as much, but if it's a need, we can circle back around to it later. So basically, this is our opportunity screen that your sales reps will begin working, and all they're needing to do here is begin changing the stage that people are in. They can jot down some notes and stuff of each of their phone calls. We'll get to that more in depth. But what I wanted to point out to you here is where those sales pipelines show up that we just created and how I begin managing these. I can just place somebody in the next stage and hit save. Okay, save right here, and they now move on to the create and deliver proposal. Now, what I want to point out here is before we're shifting into the pipeline automation, I want to ask a question. And that is, when you move somebody either into or out of a stage, do you ever have consistent things, consistent steps or processes that need to happen as a result of somebody entering a new stage? And if so, what are those consistent things? Do you ever need to send a confirmation email? Do you ever need to create a reminder for yourself to now follow up with somebody or do something offline? Maybe you need to actually go create the quote and deliver a quote when you get to that stage. Does something need to be, does a task need to be assigned to an assistant to drop something in the mail? Do you guys ever have specific types of actions that need to be taken as a follow-up? Greg says there's requirements for a move. For instance, find out if the project is real or if it's in the planning stage. Lori says all the time. Here's what I want you to begin thinking about. We're going to start shifting over here into the pipeline automation conversation. And like I said, sometimes this is a little bit of a different conversation for some people because it's something that you don't do necessarily with a lot of other systems. When I talk to sales teams and sales reps and sales managers, I begin to ask them the first question, which is, how many dials a day are your sales reps making? And many times I'm hearing back, 80, 100, 150 if they're really getting crazy with it. They're making a whole bunch of dials a day. And then the follow-up question is, how many voice-to-voice contacts are your sales reps making? Well, they're probably making, 15% or 20% if they're doing really well of voice-to-voice connections there, which means that 80 or 85% of their phone calls are not effective, and they're then spending time following up with each one of those. Okay, so really the question we begin to ask is, when and how are our sales reps most effective and most valuable to us as a business and to them as sales reps? When are they able to make the most difference in impact? And that's when they're actually working with people. That's when they're actually on the phones, building those relationships and helping orchestrate and construct some solutions via your products and services to serve those businesses. Now, the question becomes, how do we take away more of those menial tasks and things that aren't where they are contributing the most to their prospects and their customers? Those are things like follow-up and reminder emails, reaching out to prospects that have kind of gone cold, and sending them emails and reminders and making those phone calls and rescheduling some tasks. And so when I start talking about pipeline automation, I'm looking at what are those repetitive steps that your sales reps are going through that we can begin to automate for them, that we can begin to take away from their day-to-day time that they're spending trying to keep track of doing all of these menial tasks, and actually begin to automate some of that and support them in being more effective, reaching out more consistently to their customers. So let's jump over to the campaign builder. I want to start showing you how you can begin implementing some pipeline automation. Let's go here to Marketing Campaign Builder. And within here, what we're able to do, I'm going to click Add a New Campaign. So I invite you to follow along here with me. Some of you, this may be your very first virtual academy. I am going to be building on some assumed knowledge here on the campaign builder. So I apologize if this runs a little bit over your head. I invite you to stick with me here, see what you can pick up, and then check out my campaign builder session where I teach more of the basics, the foundational principles of the campaign builder and how that works. We're going to go ahead and give this one a name. I'm going to call this ISVA for Infusionsoft Virtual Academy. And this is just my personal naming structure here. So ISVA, this is going to be my May. Now, once we're within the campaign builder here, what we're able to begin doing is setting up our pipeline automation. We're going to use these things called goals, which again, if you've been on my sessions before talking about the campaign builder, you're familiar with. But we're going to use a new goal setting right here. Okay, so when we click these little icons in the lower left, this is how we're defining that we're tracking the when something happens. This is the trigger. This is what somebody does that then triggers this follow-up sequence. Okay, so as I'm talking to you about pipeline automation, many times, let's say, one of the examples that I had in here as far as a stage was the discovery call or initial conversation is scheduled. Great. So I have a voice-to-voice with somebody. I follow up with them. And now there's a couple things I need to do. Maybe I need to send them a welcome packet before that call so they can prep for it. Maybe I need that email to go out. Maybe I also need to schedule a go-to meeting and send that information out to them. Okay, fantastic. What I can do is I can identify how I want to track these things. I can identify what I want to have trigger these specific reminders. So here's what I'm getting to. Notice right down here towards the bottom, moves and opportunity. Those things that I just described to you, sending out a welcome packet or a call prep packet, and creating for myself a reminder to send out that go to meeting information. That only happens when I move an opportunity into a particular stage. So I can choose this option here that says, this goal is achieved when a user moves an opportunity. I'm going to click save, and now I'm going to double click on this big icon. Look what happens. Okay. I can now specify which stage people are either moving into or out of. So in this example that I'm giving you, when somebody moves into my discovery call and initial consultation stage, I want some stuff to happen. I want to begin running some of that automation, that pipeline automation. Instead of now making my sales rep sit down and write this email that's going to be sent out to somebody, let's have a pre-configured email that's going to be sent out for them. For those things that do need to be more personalized than is possible through automation, then I can create a task. So let's talk about those two things here. I'll click save. So notice right here, I'm actually going to modify this so I've got a little more indication here. I'm going to say moves into the discovery call stage. And right here, and this is going to be my discovery call scheduled. So my sequence right here, my sequence is where we're beginning to define our communication and our processes. So goal here is what happens. This is an event. This is an action. This is how we respond. So the action is my sales rep takes one of these opportunities. Maybe we had a new opportunity and we move them into this discovery call stage. Great. What do we want to have happen after that? In this discovery call stage, well, likely what I want to do is then have an email sent out to them. Actually, let's start with a task here. Process. The first thing that I want to have happen is I want to create a task for myself that says schedule and send go to meeting information. Maybe this is a virtual meeting that we're going to do. We're going to do a demonstration. So I now need to schedule that go to meeting and send that out to my rep or to the prospect. Fantastic. The other thing that we talked about happening was an automatic email going out. Maybe how to prep for the call, how to best prep for the call. Now, there's a couple things that we can do with that. Okay, we can set together an email right here that will be sent out, and then we can go through and customize that email. If it's the same type of information going out every time, stop being inefficient about it. Find a way to, again, make your sales reps more effective doing what they do best. Get this email sent out automatically. And so just by them moving somebody into this stage, this task will be scheduled for them as a reminder. So if they pick up the phone as soon as they finish one call, they end up taking a back-to-back phone call. If all they did was move somebody into a new stage, the reminders are already created for them. They don't have to remember that stuff. That way you don't have anything falling through the cracks. So tasks scheduled, email can be set up to be sent out. And heck, if we want to make this even feel a little bit more personal, I wouldn't have the email sent out immediately following the call. I'd pull out one of these delay timers and I'd set this up and say, hey, you know what? Make this thing wait 30 minutes or 25 minutes and then have that email sent out. Hey, great to chat with you here today. Here's the information that you need to be prepped for our next call. And then you'll be all set there. Run on weekdays, any days, whatever it might be here. So I'll click save. And then we're all set. So this is what we're able to begin doing. We're able to begin automating in between each of our different stages. Now, that's one very particular stage that we're walking through. What we could do is set up things for each of your different stages. So moves into the discovery call stage. Heck, what was my next? My next one was, I believe, sending a proposal. So maybe I want to send out something here. I'll just pull out this other. And let's go take a look at this one. Applies a tag. Nope, we want this to say moves an opportunity. So again, as we're working with our different goals and we're working with opportunities, what we want to set up is the moves an opportunity stage. Okay. What this is doing is it's looking at all of the different opportunities that you have and waiting for those opportunities to be moved into or out of a specific stage. So right here, moves an opportunity. And then I double click the big icon when moving into my create and deliver proposal stage. Great. So now I can have a follow-up there. So again, my goals here, we can begin to connect these. If you have a very linear process, we can begin to progress people through that process. And then maybe, so this is moves into create and deliver proposal. Oops, I like to put in line breaks in here sometimes. Okay, and then I may have a follow-up from that one. So maybe I need to create a task for myself that says create the proposal, deliver the proposal. Now, here's where it gets really powerful, okay? Let's go into our next one here. The next one that we had was proposal sent, and then we're awaiting that proposal to be responded to, okay? So let's say, I'll pull out another other here. And we'll configure that one to be the moves an opportunity. And the opportunity stage that we're moving into is this proposal sent. Now, I want to widen this conversation just a little bit here. How many of you actually have people that never respond to your proposals? I'm sure that has never happened to you before. That's an anomaly, that somebody has the audacity to not respond to a proposal. We end up then following up with them, reaching out to them, having those conversations, trying to call out on these people, right? Trying to get in touch with them. Now, the question becomes this. Again, what if we could automate that? Instead of having your sales rep reach out to them all the time, what if your sales rep could have some automatic messages that were going out on their behalf? Okay, so for example here, sequence. We pull out a sequence here. And what this could end up doing is once that proposal goes out, once you move somebody into that proposal sent stage, what if you have an automatic email? Let me pull out a delay timer. What if we have an automatic email that goes out 1 day later that say, did you receive the proposal? And you just have a quick touch base email that goes out to them. And then ask them, hey, give me a shout if you have any questions. And then maybe a couple days later, we have another email that goes out to them. Hey, just checking in. Haven't heard back from you yet. Because here's the deal. You want to begin looking at these things and saying, okay, if the customer responds, do you end up putting them in a different stage? So proposal sent. If they get back to me and they say, hey, that proposal's great. Let's move forward. Fantastic. I'm going to move them into the closed won stage. Done. We move them out of this particular stage. If the proposal needs to be reworked, maybe we have a rework stage. If the proposal is lost, they say, no, that's not going to work for us. They move on. Great. You move them to those stages. But in the lack of a response, that's where our sales reps end up spending a lot of time as well, is trying to reach out to those people. So we can put together our contingency plan. We can put together our reactivation plan, whatever you want to call it there, to where we are now reaching out on behalf of your sales reps, automatically trying to bubble up those prospects and those customers. Okay, so I would begin to set up some emails like this one. a whole series of emails. These can be emails that go out over the course of 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You can. There are times when people are in a particular stage where they need some more education. Great, you drop them into that, and you have automatic case studies and reports and things that then get sent out to them to help build that case for them of why they need to work with you, to work with your team, to either purchase your product or service that you have there. So that's what you can begin doing as you're setting up your pipeline automation. Is you look at the day-to-day of your sales reps. What are they doing consistently? What are they doing repeatedly? And at what points are they spending the most time reaching out to your prospects and customers, especially unsuccessfully? And how can we then take some steps like this and put them in place so that now your sales reps are being supported in an automatic fashion here by Infusionsoft to now reach out to some of those customers, start making some of those touches, so your sales reps aren't spending so much time creating tasks, creating reminders for themselves so things don't fall through the cracks, sending emails to customers, touching base with them, trying to get a hold of them and get a call going, get a conversation going, trying to get them on the phone. Put together a system that will support your sales reps in doing that. So that's really what I wanted to cover here. As far as your process, you can begin to put together a process of your stages. And again, just as a passing reminder here, remember that when one goal gets achieved, so once I move somebody into the create and deliver proposal stage, it stops the sequences before it. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. When we move somebody into a stage, if there's a sequence connected to that goal, it'll stop the sequence before it, which is why I'm showing you, like right in here, you can put together a whole contingency plan. You can put together a 2-week plan of how to follow up with people after that proposal has been sent. But then, you might have something here that's a closed won and a closed lost. And you configure those to be those stage move goals. But if at any time that person responds to the proposal and you either win the proposal or you lose the proposal, it's okay, because by moving somebody into that other stage, it would shut down this particular sequence. So those messages that are no longer relevant don't go out. Mike, I just saw your question here. Does that answer your question or not? You said, how do you stop the emails which continue to send if the prospect receives the proposal but it doesn't let you know? Well, Mike, part of what we're trying to do here as well is we're trying to initiate conversations for you. We're trying to support your sales reps to initiate those conversations and answering any questions. So even if they don't notify us that they received the proposal, great. Keep reaching out to them to make sure that they've received it and try and get them to get on the phone with you again. So those are some things that you're able to do here. Let me, just for clarity here, let me complete this by configuring it properly. And that is moved into the closed won stage. And this one here would be moves into the closed lost stage. Now, there's one other thing that I want to point out here. We've had an entire discussion here about your sales pipeline automation. There's one step that I want to point out that a couple of folks were already bringing up here. John, I think, asked one very similar. Can we move prospects into an opportunity automatically by setting up a task? What you can do here is there are many different ways that you can create an opportunity. I want to encourage you to think about when you have, what is it that qualifies somebody as a good prospect that you put on the phone with your sales rep? Is it just anybody that can fog a mirror, or is it somebody that is actually gone through some particular steps to illustrate that they are qualified? Maybe they've requested a few different reports on your site. Maybe they filled out a form. Here's what I want to show you. Let's say that somebody requests some information. Okay, let's say they request a consultation. So I'm going to say request a meeting. Let's say you have a web form on your site, or on your website where it says request a consultation. And when they fill out this form, you want to create an opportunity and then have your sales rep follow up on it. What I'm trying to illustrate here, big picture, is how you can take your online automated follow-up process that I teach you in the campaign builder and all of these things, all these great lead generation tools that you can use, and then seamlessly transition that into your offline sales rep guided process, your sales pipeline. So watch this. Once somebody fills out this form, notice right here, this is defined as a web form. When somebody fills out that form, we can trigger a sequence. And in that sequence, we have this process item right here that is a create opportunity process item. Now, what you're able to do with this, double click it and configure. What stage do I want it to start in? Well, this would be a brand new opportunity. Fantastic. Who do I want to assign it to? I can assign it to a specific person, or I can round robin it. So if this is a brand new opportunity, brand new contact, right? I can have it round robin to different teams that I may have within my system, or just specify it to a particular person. If there's a particular product that it's related to, great. If I don't want to have more than one active opportunity at a time, I can check this. That will limit it and basically looks to see if they have any currently active opportunities. That keeps databases a little more clean. And then next action date. When do I want people to follow up on this one by? So I can click save. And now whenever somebody takes that action right here, whenever they fill out the form, it will trigger this sequence. And then that sequence automatically drops them into this new opportunity stage. What I like to do, and I didn't start with our new opportunity stage here. I started with our second moves into discovery call stage. But what I would do here is I would do two things. I would create one here that says moves into new opportunity, and configure that one as this moves an opportunity, and say when they move into a new opportunity stage. And then I would put my sequence right here. So if there's something that needs to happen, maybe an automatic email that gets sent out to them from the sales rep saying, hey, thanks, I received your request. I'll call you in a few moments. That way you've got a really high touch setup going. I set it up this way because that way this goal right here is in place for all of the manually created orders that are manually created opportunities that you might run. So anytime you set up an opportunity, it would drop somebody into a sequence, or any of your, this will be my create opportunity sequence will then also trigger my new opportunity follow-up. Okay. So now what we're creating is a continuous system where we're able to have people sign up online, and then we convert that to an offline sales pipeline process. So there we go. That's our pipeline automation. Now, what I want to shift gears to now is covering what it's going to look like on a day-to-day basis for your sales reps. I'm going to click back to list to get out of my campaign. Please remember on those, again, this session isn't designed to be a campaign builder training session. I have another one where I teach that, but please remember that in order for any of this to work, you do need to publish things, mark things as ready to turn those on. If you have more questions about that, I invite you to check out my campaign builder session where I teach that more in depth. But when it comes to a day-to-day for your sales reps, what does that look like? What happens? Well, there's a couple things that I'd like to recommend that you do. Number one, I'm going to go to my dashboard. And underneath my dashboard, there's a dashboard widget that I want to recommend that you place on your dashboard. So I'm going to click right here, Add dashboard widget. And this is one of my favorite widgets. We added this one about 6 months ago. Pipeline stages. I want to add this one to my dashboard. And within my pipeline stages, it just added this section right here for me. Within my pipeline stages widget, what I'm able to do is configure that. So I invite you to click the settings option down here below. Let me get some of this stuff out of here as well. There we go. So underneath pipeline stages, I can change the title. So for me, I like to put Scott's Pipeline Stages on this one. If you're a manager, sales team manager, you could have one for you or one for each of your particular sales reps, and then you could have a cumulative one. Notice right here how it says viewing stages for all users, or I can choose a particular user. So in this case, I'll choose a particular user. What I can then do is choose what specific sales pipeline stages I want to see. For me, in this case, I don't want to see closed and won. I probably don't want to see my 3-month hold here. Let me just shut off all of these except for the ones that I currently have active. Once I filter down to what I want to see, I can click on Save. And now I have my sales pipeline stages. This basically gives me a snapshot of all of my different stages. Now, as a sales rep, what I can do is I can pull this up on my dashboard and I can simply click through. Everybody that I've got this discovery call or initial consultation already scheduled, great. Click through and I'm ready to go. I see all this information right here. Okay, so what I could begin to do, let's actually go back here. Let me pull one up. Let's say I've got a create and deliver proposal that I need to start working through on that one. I'll click through on that number 5, and I can simply begin working through these opportunities. If I need to make a phone call at some point to verify something, fantastic. I've got all that information right here. If I need to add any notes related to that, to this particular stage, anything that I've done here within the stage, I can access all of that from within this interactive list view. I can add a note. I can view any open or incompleted tasks that might be here. Look at any appointments. Fire off an email if I want to real quick. Send a quick email that will be attached to their history. We've got quotes and orders right here. Add tags, internal forms. So I can access everything here from within the interactive list view. I can also make any modifications. So let's say I pull up this create and deliver proposal, and I know that I need to create and deliver the proposal here for Harry Potter. Let's say that I do so. Well, once I'm done, I can click right here and say, you know what? Proposal sent. Save. Which now means that stage has been changed. I can move on to the next one. Fantastic. So I can go through and keep working through my list. This makes it very easy for me to work on this list. I get down here to the next one. Again, I can click through if I want to, but if I know I just need to go create and deliver that proposal, then fantastic. Once I'm done here, I can click on that one, done, and then save. If there's any automation behind it, that automation takes place. It queues up an automatic email to go out tomorrow, just like we set up, that says, hey, just want to check in, make sure you receive the proposal. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, from Scott. Okay. So you can set all of this information up, and then notice if I ever refresh this page, those two are now gone. Okay. I had Harry Potter and Daffy here. Those two are now gone. Why? Because they're not in this particular stage anymore, this create and deliver proposal stage. If I go back here to my dashboard now shows me that I've got 2 people in that proposal sent stage. So again, this makes it very easy for me to keep track of people in different stages, opportunities in different stages. Now, let's dive in a little bit deeper. Within these create and deliver proposal options, let me go down in here into the opportunity itself. I just click the name and it takes me into the actual opportunity. Now, what I like to do within these, there's a couple things. A, your products and subscription plans. If you're actually negotiating, creating a deal, in this process, your sales reps are putting together a package solution for this particular contact, this particular prospect. You can begin to track all of that right here under the products and subscription plans tab. So notice right here, if there's a particular product that we're discussing, maybe I've got a program that somebody's going to sign up for, I can choose that product and click add. Adds that product right down here. Whoops, looks like I already had another product there as well. If I need to edit that, maybe I'm giving somebody a particular deal or a discount. Maybe I'm going to give you a 10% discount when you buy 2 of those. I can edit that information and click save. So now this gives me a place to log that particular deal that we're discussing. As we're going through the process, maybe that person accepts the quote. We're all set. Fantastic. I can simply then take this and say, create an order. I can convert this into an order for them directly from the opportunity. Or if I want them to pay online, I can click this send buy now link. And what that will do is it will send them an email that has a link where they can then go pay online. All done, all set. Pops that up right here. Okay. So you've got a lot of different options when you're working with these opportunities here. The one other thing that I wanted to cover here today is the reporting portion of things. And I know we're a couple minutes over here, so there's just a couple reports here that I want to highlight, and then we'll shift over into the Q&A portion. For our reports, we're going to go to this CRM portion, CRM reports. So again, feel free to follow along with me here. And underneath reports, we're going to click on CRM reports, sales. Right here on the left-hand side, sales represents our sales pipelines, our sales teams. And what we now have here underneath the report title, there are a couple specific ones that I want to take a look at with you. Okay. Now, some of the ones, and actually, here's one thing that I didn't show you that I wanted to point out. I apologize. Let me hang tight there on that reports page. This is important to the next step that I'm showing you here. Within each of these, okay, these opportunities, what I like to do is use this thing called the next action dates. Okay, it's right here. These are like pseudo tasks. I recommend that your sales reps manage their opportunities, not by creating tasks to follow up, but by defining these things called next action dates. Okay, so let's say that I have a brand new opportunity. So I'm going to add an opportunity here. Opportunity title. Actually, let's just go to a contact record here. I'm going to show you one. I'm going to pull up one other one here. Here we go. So we can see opportunities from on a contact record right down here underneath opportunities. I can add an opportunity to a contact record. So these opportunities tie to a specific contact record. We can view all opportunities associated with a contact. I can also create a brand new one. So I'm going to do that here. Add an opportunity. I can specify what stage somebody is in. Add any notes, any next action dates, and otherwise. So as I was talking about the next action dates, we can set our next action notes as well. So new opportunity, my next action notes would be make initial contact and schedule discovery call. Okay, so now I can click save and it will take me into that opportunity. Now, personally, what I love doing, I like working with these next action dates over here because I can sort my list of opportunities based on my next action date, and it makes it very easy for me. Remember, we were talking about those follow-ups. We were talking about how many dials a day result in no voice-to-voice contact, 80 to 85%. Great. We still need to follow up with people a couple days later. So here's what I'm going to recommend. I like using these next action dates. I pop into this particular opportunity and I say, you know what? I made a phone call. Maybe I called this person today and I didn't reach them. I left a message. I still got to call them back tomorrow. So I'm going to click that button right there. Let me show you that again. I'm going to click this, add a note to this opportunity's history. I click that button and I can say, you know what? LVM left a message. Great. Here's the next follow-up action. Okay. Now I'm going to say, yes, I want to change it because I want to change the date to tomorrow or the next day, depending on how soon you want to follow up again. So I click that. My goal is still the same. I still need to make that initial call and schedule the discovery call. I click save. Now, here's what just happened. Notice how my screen just refreshed. What just happened is it made a note right here, annotated that I left a message on an original goal of making an initial contact to discover to schedule a discovery call. Now, here's what that does. That makes it very quick and very easy for your sales reps to not only log what happened, but in the same step, log what they still need to do next. Because now what happens is they're able to come in and pull up their list of opportunities. They can filter their opportunities by type, by stage, where their stages are at, or they could simply click this start over button and simply pull, hey, give me everything that has a next action date of today or tomorrow, the next couple days, and give me that. And it will pull me an entire list of those so I can begin going through that list of things that I need to work with. Now, here's why I came back around to this one before getting into the reports. Let's go to CRM reports, sales reports. Call history summary. View the total number of calls for each salesman. Many times as sales managers, you'll want to be keeping tabs on how many calls are being made each day. This report pulls specifically from notes, from those notes that are added. Now, they can be manual notes that are added. They don't just have to be using that next action date. But heck, to me, that's the most effective way to schedule a note, as well as the next time that I need to follow up. So call history summary is a great report there for giving you the total number of calls within a date range for each of your different sales reps. You can click on edit criteria or columns to modify that particular date range as well. Now, another report that's great to see is going through your sales pipeline summary. If we pull this particular one, this within a certain date range is beginning to show us how many opportunities did we have move into a stage and out of a stage. Where am I bottlenecking right now on an overall basis, not just on a sales rep by sales rep basis, but this can now give me insight into our processes. Where am I bottlenecking? Where are people moving in and not moving out? Where do I need to go to work on my process? Okay. Another one here that's very helpful is the opportunity revenue forecast. Now, this is one where we're able to begin looking at potential revenues. So I talked to you earlier about weighted revenues forecasting and all of that. I can edit this to expand my date range here. Let me go back earlier to see if we can get some data within here. So it will pull each of my sales reps, sales rep by sales rep. I just have one in my system right here. It tells me how many active opportunities that they have and what the potential revenue is. This is a flat dollar amount based on the total, the total amount of products or services added to that products or services tab, products or subscriptions tab. So I showed you how we could begin tracking what the actual order is. This pulls the straight dollar amount. This weights that dollar amount based on that percentage that we talked about, that percentage of close. Potential monthly subscriptions, these are now looking at your recurring subscriptions. Now, let's see. Couple other ones here. The sales reps conversion percentages tells you how well your sales reps are converting leads, and then conversion percentages right there. It's based on who created them. That one's not as valuable in my mind. But then this last one here, stage to stage report, the number of days between stage moves. As you take a look at this one, this is this one I'm looking for? Nope, that's not the one I'm looking for. My apologies. I do know we've got one of the reports in here. There we go. The sales cycle report. This is the one that I wanted to pull up. What we're able to do is look at each of your contacts, and the average right here is beginning to tell us the average number of days that it takes for your sales rep to move somebody through a process from start to finish to one of your non-active stages, be that closed won or closed lost. So you can begin to make some comparisons there between your different sales reps. So that's what I wanted to cover here today. I know we're about 10 minutes over. I do apologize for that. I dove a little bit deeper into some things in the beginning there, but I want to circle back around here and make sure to take some of your questions. So let me ask one question here as we're getting into the Q&A portion. I know many people will go ahead and step out of the call here at this point. So please go ahead and give me some feedback though. How would you rate the content on today's call? Let me know how we're doing here. And if you have some specifics that you'd like to give me as well, go ahead and give me some feedback there in the questions portion. If there were particular things that, we hit it out of the park on, that was great, fantastic. Let me know there's some specifics using the questions portion. If there were things that really you didn't find valuable, also let me know on that one. I always appreciate the feedback there. Nate, perfect. I appreciate that. That's honest feedback right there. He said way too much. Lots of stuff that we cover in this particular one, and I am looking to find a way to piece this one out and do a couple different sessions here. So I agree with you there. All right, let me go ahead and close this poll. I'll close this in 5 seconds. We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. I'm going to save that information here. All right. Now let me go back and take a look. Hey, Andrew, there was a question that was coming through here on where do we create those checklists. I'll circle back around to that. That's under your CRM settings. And again, the checklists were kind of those sub items within a sales stage. So they're designed to be reminders. Let me go view an opportunity real quick. Here we go. So the checklist is what appears within a stage. Okay. So what we're able to do within these stages is focus on what is the high level stage? What is the conversation that we're having at this particular stage? But then are there particular steps within that stage that we need to be aware of, that we need to help your sales reps remember? So where we set those up is underneath the sales pipeline area where we started. You can click on checklist and you're able to add some checklist items. So you give it a description, tell us whether or not it's required, and define what order you want it to appear in. If it's not required, it will just appear there, but it won't stop them from moving on to the next stage. So let's see. Next question here. John, I think I answered your question there on tasks. If you still needed some clarification there, let me know. Mike, did we clarify your question there as well? I believe we did. You said, how do you stop the emails which continue to send if the prospect receives the proposal but doesn't let you know? Really, that's the beauty of setting up a system like this, is when you move them into the next stage, it can stop the stuff that came before it. Suzanne, awesome. I'm glad to hear that one. Suzanne's just getting into sales pipeline stuff to help her have a process for closing some new clients. So awesome. Let's see. I'm not sure if I'm getting your name right here. Is it Jose? The question is, what's this about round robins? Where do we set up round robins? One of the things that you'll want to do here is with you can set up round robins under your sales pipeline portion here. Okay, so again, we're underneath settings, or we're under the CRM settings, and then you can click on round robins. And within those round robins, basically, if you have different teams that handle either different types of products or different territories or something like that, you can create round robin teams to automatically distribute your leads. So, for example, I was chatting with a gentleman, and he came out to one of our live events that we did, and he had a process. He was the general manager, and he was spending 2 or 3 hours a day distributing manually leads that were coming in to him. Waste of a general manager's time, quite frankly. I sat down with him. We went through some questions and said, okay, what do you do here, and what's the logic behind all of it? And basically, it came down to, he had a couple different teams, and depending on the products that were of interest, he'd round robin it to different people within the team. He'd go back and forth, so those leads were distributed evenly. So basically, your round robins, you're able to set up distributions of your leads. So you can go through, give it a name, and these are just slightly different ways to distribute stuff, but basically you're able to set up ratios and say, look, within this, I want to distribute these to different users. So I want to give one to Scott, one to Mark. Don doesn't get any on this particular round robin. And then I can simply hit save. So what that's going to do is then automatically distribute the leads. It'll give one to Scott, one to Mark, one to Scott, one to Mark, and cycle through it that way. Awesome. Thanks for the feedback here, guys. Appreciate it. Paul asked, will this whole session be posted online for download or review at a later date? Paul, the answer is yes, it will be. I announced that on Twitter when I post it. So every time I post a brand new recording, I let you know. Also, in the email that I send you guys each week, I include a link here in the upper right. Prior classes, click here to access. And then on that particular page, you'll see it here, managing your Salesforce. So you'll see a new date once that's posted. That should be here within 24 hours. Blake asked, how does this integrate with My Day? Blake, right now, the integration with My Day, the incorporation of opportunities into My Day is primarily around any tasks that you have created through the sequences, okay? The next action dates at this point do not show up as tasks or as appointments at this point. And your opportunity stages don't show up there on My Day. That's why I showed you the dashboard widget, where you're able to see that and get more insight into the different stages, really, where I recommend that people work through their opportunities right now. Like I said, I like to use dashboard. From the dashboard option, okay, then I can simply click through to whichever stage I want to work on. And then once I get into that stage, when you're working with My Day, what My Day enables you to do is view everything there within one screen. Well, a lot of that stuff you've got access to right here as well, okay, through our interactive list view. So that's what I recommend that folks do when they're wanting to be able to quickly work through a list of items, similar to what you would do on My Day, Blake, but with opportunities right now. This is where you kick over to work on those. Again, Nay, thanks for the feedback there. Great Greg, same thing there as well. Appreciate the feedback. And yeah, Paul Sokol's fantastic with this stuff. Paul's got the pipeline automation mindset. So I love when I'm able to jam with him and learn from some of his experience as well. Let's see. Lori says, I have set up automation in the campaign builder with tasks that say move to next stage instead of the opportunities. What's the best way to change it over to opportunities now? So Lori, and Greg mentioned Paul here a moment ago. Paul's another guy that gets real deep into this stuff. And hey, what's the best way to set these things up? He and I have jammed on this particular topic a couple of times when it comes to opportunities and tasks and using those in tandem. Really, what we agree upon is that if you're using opportunities, you typically won't be using tasks at the same time unless the tasks are kind of separate things from your opportunities. For example, I would not create a task that tells me to complete something and then go change the stage. To me, that's an inefficient process, and really, you just need to build into your organization the knowledge that completing somebody in that stage means you just go move stages. So that way you avoid extra clicks, you avoid some redundancy there. So it's specifically to your question, you're saying you've set up automation in the campaign builder with tasks, and those tasks tell you to move somebody to the next stage. Is that all that task is doing, Lori? Is saying move them to the next stage? Yeah, that's all that one's doing. Lori, do you then have, what's your next goal there, Lori? Is your next goal set to, is your next goal set to watch for that task to be completed? Let me go there within the campaign builder. So I was showing you these as your moves and opportunity option. There's other ones that if you've got a task in a sequence, let me dive in here really quickly. Process, create a task. There's another option on your goals. Whoops. That if there's a task in the preceding sequence, will allow you to do this completes a task option. And it watches for that task to be completed. So Lori, which one are you using? The moves into a stage or completes a task? Okay. So these are completes a task when the task asks us to say that the session has been attended. Lori, on that one, I would look at just going in and making sure you move them to one step or the other. Now, it sounds like in this particular, sorry, let me be more clear on that. I'm running a different direction in my mind. I would make sure that you have different stages already set up, stages that are, kind of like John was mentioning here earlier. They've got the person shows and they close, they show and there's no close, they don't show, they cancel, different outcomes like that, Lori. And then my question would be, why do we need a task to remind people to do that? As opposed to at the end of that session, they know they've got to go in and log their notes and they're defining the outcome. That's what I would look at there, Lori, is great. At the end of that call, at the end of that session, they're defining what happened there and they're moving into the appropriate stage. At that point, when you get that training there into your organization, this simply shifts from being completes a task to moves an opportunity, and you define which stage you want them to be then moved into. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. John asked a question here. Let me grab a drink of water before this one. This is long. John said, can you do this for online sales too? Say for an info product. For example, someone declares interest in fat loss, then you enter them into the campaign targeted towards selling them an ebook. Would the opportunity be interest visited site, sales page, filled out the form, bought, then automate the follow-up for each stage. John, here's what I'm going to recommend on that one. No, you don't want to use opportunities here, and here's why. The stage moves, moving somebody from stage 1 to stage 2. So like we have here, new opportunity, discovery call, create and deliver proposal, all of that. These have to be manually moved. There's no way to automatically move somebody from stage to stage to stage. So John, if you're looking for an online process where people are going to take action engaging with you online, filling out a web form, clicking a link, buying a product, that kind of stuff, opportunity module is not what you're looking for on that one, John, because opportunity module requires hands-on. Sense there, John? I would recommend you can achieve something similar by putting together an automated process. That's what the campaign builder is designed to allow you to do, is building a campaign where you can now walk people through and they can now click on these different links. You can apply tags and otherwise if you want to track which stages that they're at, John. But when you want to put together a fully automated process, opportunities is not where you want to be. That's designed to help people manage a manual process. Lori asked a question here. You're asking, please mention again, Sokol. What's going on there? Paul Sokol, he's one of our brilliant masterminds that we've got here. Let's go to help.infusionsoft.com. I mentioned at the beginning of the call, mastermind calls. You can access those mastermind calls here by hovering over training and going to mastermind. Again, that takes you to the web address that I mentioned earlier, help.infusionsoft.com/mastermind. Again, I highly recommend that you sign up for those. But Paul Sokol covered a couple sessions here for us recently. How to manage your sales process. Actually, this one right here, how to manage your sales opportunities. Very similar session to what I did today with Paul's spin on it. He does things a little bit differently there, but he's got a lot of great experience setting up Infusionsoft, especially the opportunities module. I teach the campaign builder more than anybody. I think he teaches opportunities more than anybody and has a unique way of walking through that. So feel free to check that one out, Lori. All right, that brings me to the end of my questions that I've got here. So if you have any more questions, make sure to post those in here shortly. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and wrap this up in the next 20 or 30 seconds. Again, this particular session, I will work on getting converted and posted to my recordings page. You can find out when it's available either by following me on Twitter, checking out my Twitter page, or you can simply click through tomorrow on this Can't Make a Class, prior classes here. You can click through to access that particular page and download it and watch it for review. I know on this particular session we cover a lot, and this one isn't as interactive and guided as some of my other ones, but there's also a whole lot of variables. So my goal here is to highlight those so that you can then go through, work with your team on putting everything together. So again, thank you so much for being here today. Looks like we're all done with questions, so I'm going to bid you all farewell, and I look forward to seeing you on a future virtual academy. We've got a couple others scheduled for later this week. Application setup going on Wednesday morning, and then diving deep into the campaign builder on Wednesday midday. Actually, not diving super deep, but really laying a solid foundation there with the campaign builder. So I invite you to join me for each of those sessions. And again, thanks so much for being here. Look forward to seeing you on a future virtual academy session.